From the earliest days of my presidency, I have argued that our world is at an inflection point. How From the earliest days of my presidency, I have argued that our world is at an inflection point. How we respond to the tremendous challenges and unprecedented opportunities we face today will determine the direction of our world and impact the security and prosperity of the American people for generations to come. The 2022 National Security Strategy outlines how my administration will seize this decisive decade to advance America's vital interests, position the United States to outmaneuver our geopolitical competitors, tackle shared challenges, and set our world firmly on a path toward a brighter and more hopeful tomorrow. Around the world, the need for American leadership is as great as it ever has been. We are in the midst of a strategic competition to shape the future of the international order. Meanwhile, shared challenges that impact people everywhere demand increased global cooperation and nations stepping up to their responsibilities at a moment when this has become more difficult. In response, the United States will lead with our values, and we will work in lockstep with our allies and partners and with all those who share our interests. We will not leave our future vulnerable to the whims of those who do not share our vision for a world that is free, open, prosperous, and secure. As the world continues to navigate the lingering impacts of the pandemic, and global economic uncertainty, there is no nation better positioned to lead with strength and purpose than the United States of America. From the moment I took the oath of office, my administration has focused on investing in America's core strategic advantages. Our economy has added 10 million jobs, and unemployment rates have reached near record lows. Manufacturing jobs have come racing back to the United States. We're rebuilding our economy from the bottom up and the middle out, and we've made a generational investment to upgrade our nation's infrastructure and historic investments in innovation to sharpen our competitive edge for the future. Around the world, nations are seeing once again why it's never a good bet to bet against the United States of America. We have also reinvigorated America's unmatched network of alliances and partnerships to uphold and strengthen the principles and institutions that have enabled so much stability, prosperity, and growth for the last 75 years. We have deepened our core alliances in Europe and the Indo Pacific. NATO is stronger and more united than it ever has been, and we look to welcome two capable new allies in Finland and Sweden. We are doing more to connect our partners and strategies across regions through initiatives like our security partnership with Australia and the United Kingdom. And we are forging creative new ways to work in common cause with partners and issues of shared interest, as we are with the European Union, the Indo Pacific Quad, the Indo Pacific Economic Framework, and the Americas Partnership for Economic Prosperity. These partnerships amplify our capacity to respond to shared challenges and take on the issues that directly impact billions of people's lives. If parents cannot feed their children, nothing else matters. When countries are repeatedly ravaged by climate disasters, entire futures are wiped out. And as we have all experienced, when pandemic diseases proliferate and spread, they can worsen inequities and bring the entire world to a standstill. The United States will continue to prioritize leading the international response to these transnational challenges together with our partners, even as we face down concerted efforts to remake the ways in which nations relate to one another. In the contest for the future of our world, my administration is clear eyed about the scope and seriousness of the challenge. The People's Republic of China harbors the intention and increasingly the capacity to reshape the international order in favor of one that tilts the global playing field to its benefit, even as the United States remains committed to managing the competition between our countries responsibly. Russia's brutal and unprovoked war on its neighbor Ukraine has shattered peace in Europe and impacted stability everywhere, and its reckless nuclear threats endanger the global nonproliferation regime. Autocrats are working overtime to undermine democracy and export a model of governance marked by repression at home and coercion abroad. These competitors mistakenly believe democracy is weaker than autocracy because they fail to understand that a nation's power springs from its people. The United States is strong abroad because we are strong at home. Our economy is dynamic. Our people are resilient and creative. Our military remains unmatched, and we will keep it that way. And it is our democracy that enables us to continually reimagine ourselves and renew our strength. So the United States will continue to defend democracy around the world, even as we continue to do the work at home to better live up to the idea of America enshrouded in our founding documents. We will continue to invest in boosting American competitiveness, globally drawing dreamers, strivers from around the world. We will partner with any nation that shares our basic belief that the rules based order must remain the foundation for global peace and prosperity. And we will continue to demonstrate how America's enduring leadership to address the challenges of today and tomorrow with vision and clarity is the best way to deliver for the American people. This is a 360-degree strategy grounded in the world as it is today, laying out the future we seek and providing a roadmap for how we will achieve it. None of this will be easy or without setbacks, and I am more confident than ever that the United States has everything we need to win the competition for the 21st century. We emerge stronger from every crisis. There is nothing beyond our capacity. We can do this for the future of our world. Part 1: The competition for what comes next. The world is changing. We are at a significant inflection point in world history, and our country and the world, the United States, has always been able to chart the future in times of great change. We've been able to constantly renew ourselves. Time and time again, we've proven there's not a single thing we cannot do as a nation when we do it together. And I mean that, not a single thing. President Joseph R. Biden Jr. at the United States Coast Guard Academy 140th Commencement Exercises. Our enduring vision. We are now in the early years of a decisive decade for America and the world. The terms of geopolitical competition between the major powers will be set. The window of opportunity to deal with shared threats like climate change will drastically narrow. The actions we take now will shape whether this period is known as an age of conflict and discord or the beginning of a more stable and prosperous future. We face two strategic challenges. The first is that the post-Cold War era is definitely over, and a competition is underway between the major powers to shape what comes next. No nation is better positioned to succeed in this competition than the United States, as long as we work in common cause with those who share our vision of a world that is free, open, secure, and prosperous. This means that the foundational principles of self-determination, territorial integrity, and political independence must be respected. International institutions must be strengthened. Countries must be free to determine their own foreign policy choices. Information must be allowed to flow freely. Universal human rights must be upheld. And the global economy must operate on a level playing field and provide opportunity for all. The second is that while this competition is underway, people all over the world are struggling to cope with the effects of shared challenges that cross borders, whether it's climate change, food insecurity, communicable diseases, terrorism, energy shortages, or inflation. These shared challenges are not marginal issues that are secondary global to geopolitics. They are at the very core of national and international security and must be treated as such. By their very nature, these challenges require governments to cooperate if they are to solve them. But we must be clear-eyed that we will have to tackle these challenges within a competitive international environment where heightening geopolitical competition, nationalism, and populism render this cooperation even more difficult and will require us to think and act in new ways. This national security strategy lays out our plan to achieve a better future for a free, open, secure, and prosperous world. Our strategy is rooted in our national interest to protect the security of the American people, to expand economic prosperity and opportunity, and to realize and defend the democratic values at the heart of the American way of life. We can do none of this alone, and we do not have to. Most nations around the world define their interests in ways that are compatible with ours. We will build the strongest and broadest possible coalition of nations that seek to cooperate with each other, while competing with those powers that offer a darker vision and thwarting their efforts to threaten our interests. Our enduring role. The need for a strong and purposeful American role in the world has never been greater. The world is becoming more divided and unstable. Global increases in inflation since the COVID-19 pandemic began have made life more difficult for many. The basic laws and principles governing relations among nations, including the United Nations Charter and the protection it affords all states from being invaded by their neighbors or having their borders redrawn by force, are under attack. The risk of conflict between major powers is increasing. Democracies and autocracies are engaged in a contest to show which of the systems of governance can best deliver for the people and the world. Competition to develop and deploy foundational technologies that will transform our security and economy is intensifying. Global competition, cooperation on shared interests has frayed, even as the need for that cooperation takes on existential importance. The scale of these things grows with each passing year, as do the risks of inaction. Although the international environment has become more contested, the United States remains the world's leading power. Our economy, our population, our innovation, and our military power continue to grow, often outpacing those of larger countries. Our inherent national strength, the ingenuity, creativity, resilience, and determination of the American people, our values, diversity, and democratic institutions, our technological leadership and economic dynamism, and our diplomatic corps, development professionals, intelligence community, and our military remain unparalleled. We are experienced in using and applying our power in combination with our allies and partners who add significantly to our own strength. We learned lessons from our failures as well as our successes. The idea we should compete with these major autocratic powers to shape the international order enjoys broad support that is bipartisan at home and deepening abroad. The United States is a large and diverse democracy, encompassing people from every corner of the world, every walk of life, every system of belief. This means that our politics are not always smooth. In fact, quite the opposite. We live in a moment of passionate political intensities and ferment that sometimes tears at the fabric of the nation. But we don't shy away from the fact or use it as an excuse to retreat from the wider world. We will continue to reckon openly and humbly with our divisions, and we will work through our politics transparently and democratically. We know that for all the effort it takes, our democracy is worth it. It is the only way to ensure that people are truly able to live lives of dignity and freedom. This American project will never be complete. Democracy is always a work in progress, but that will not stop us from defining our values and continuing to pursue our national security interests in the world. The quality of our democracy at home affects the strength and credibility of our leadership abroad, just as the character of the world we inhabit affects our ability to enjoy security, prosperity, and freedom at home. Our rivals' challenges are profound and mounting. Their problems at home and abroad are as associated with the pathologies inherent in highly personalized autocracies and are less easily remedied than ours. Conversely, the United States has a tradition of transforming both domestic and foreign challenges into opportunities to spur reform and rejuvenation at home. This is one reason that the prophecies of American decline have repeatedly been disproven in the past, and why it has never been a good bet to bet against America. We have always succeeded when we embraced an affirmative vision for the world that addresses shared challenges and combines it with dynamism of our democracy and the determination to outcompete our rivals. The nation of the competition between democracies and autocracies. The range of nations that supports our vision of free, open, prosperous, and secure world is broad and powerful. It includes our democratic allies in Europe and the Indo-Pacific, as well as key democratic partners around the world that share much of our vision for regional and international order, even if they do not agree with us on all issues. Countries that do not embrace democratic institutions but nevertheless depend upon and support a rules based international system. Americans will support universal human rights and stand in solidarity with those beyond our shores who seek freedom and dignity, just as we continue the critical work of ensuring equity and equal treatment under the law at home. We will work to strengthen democracy and the world because democratic governance consistently outperforms authoritarianism to protect human dignity, leads to more prosperous and resilient societies, creates stronger and more reliable economic and security partners for the United States, and encourages a peaceful world order. In particular, we will take steps to show that democracies deliver, not only by ensuring the United States and its democratic partners lead on the hardest challenges by our time, by working with other democratic governments and the private sector to help emerging democracies show tangible benefits to their own populations. We do not, however, believe that governments and societies everywhere must be remade in America's image for us to be secure. The most pressing strategic challenge facing our vision is from powers that layer authoritarian governance with a revisionist foreign policy. It is their behavior that poses a challenge to international peace and stability, especially waging or preparing for wars of aggression, actively undermining the democratic political processes of other countries, leveraging technology and supply chains for coercion and repression, and exporting an illiberal model of international order. Many non democracies join the world's democracies in forswearing these behaviors. Unfortunately, Russia and the People's Republic of China do not. Russia and the PRC pose different challenges. Russia poses an immediate threat to free and open international system, recklessly flouting the basic laws of the international order today, as its brutal war of aggression against Ukraine has shown. The PRC, by contrast, is the only competitor with both the intent to reshape the international order and increasingly the economic, diplomatic, military, and technical power to advance that objective. Just as the United States and countries around the world benefit greatly from the post Cold War international order, so too did the PRC and Russia. The PRC's economy and geopolitical influence grew rapidly. Russia joined the G8 and G20 and recovered economically in the 2000s. And yet, they concluded that the success of a free and open rules based international order posed a threat to their regimes and stifled their ambitions. In their own ways, they now seek to remake the international order to create a world conducive to their highly personalized and repressive type of autocracy. Their pursuit of this vision is complicated by several factors. The PRC's assertive behavior has caused other countries to push back and defend their sovereignty for their own legitimate reasons. The PRC also retains common interests with other countries, including the United States, because of various interdependencies on climate, economies, and public health. Russia's strategic limitations have both been exposed following its war of aggression against Ukraine. Moscow has also some interest in cooperation with countries that do not share its vision, especially in the global south. As a result, the United States and our allies and partners have an opportunity to shape the PRC and Russia's external environment in a way that influences their behavior, even as we compete with them. Some parts of the world are uneasy with the competition between the United States and the world's largest autocracies. We understand these concerns. We also want to avoid a world in which competition escalates into a world of rigid blocks. We do not seek conflict or a new Cold War. Rather, we are trying to support every country, regardless of size or strength, in exercising the freedom to make choices that serve their interests. This is a critical difference between our vision, which aims to preserve the autonomy and the rights of the less powerful states, than that of our rivals, which does not.